guys, welcome to Coast Connection and Embrace the Power Productions down here in Tampa, Florida. We got Kate on tonight. Kate, where are you at, my girl? What's up?
I'm the neighborhood over the bridge in St. Pete, Florida.
That's what I'm talking about, across the pond.
Way over there.
So how's it going this evening?
It's going amazing. I'm so psyched to be on here. We've already, of course, hitting it up before we even hit record. It was like, hold up, time out. Let's hit the record button.
That's right. We got a lot of content to cover. And, you're a high-performance coach. So, hey, hit me up real quick. Homegirl, what is a high-performance coach?
So a high-performance coach is really focusing on really the 5 or the 6 key high-performance habits. Brenda Bouchard is my mentor coach and spend millions of dollars on research about what is it that makes people high performers. And we're not talking about high achievers, people that are just like killing it, making a ton of money, blah, 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 whatever our society views as achievement. We're talking about performance, about you're having sustained level, fulfillment, happiness, rich relationships, making good cash, all of those things. Mostly important thing is a sustained level of it. Really super key.
Yeah, but I like what you're saying, but there's always a struggle because status in America has such a bearing on how you get ahead in your network, right? So honestly, as you're talking as a high performance coach and you're talking to people and they're calling you and they're trying to get this thing, is how are you helping them build that network? Because at the end of the day, to get to that level, you got to have a network, homie.
100%. I love that. So one of the key high performance habits is clarity. So if you don't know who you are, how you're measuring your interactions, and how you're measuring success, you got nothing. Because people will say, I'm just not productive. I want to have greater influence, but they're not clear on who they are and they're not managing their energy. The energy sucks. Whether they have addiction, whether they're just not hitting the workouts, they're not realizing that ultimately our energy is our biggest currency. So we have to figure out how we can maximize our energy, because only if we maximize those things can we increase our productivity and have greater impact, right? And I would ask the question of the audience, 1 to 100, what percentage of you have you tapped in to what you were born into, what God put you with? What percent? What percent? Share. What you got? What you got? Literally, tell me.
All right, so this is where I'm going to bring it, is that when you talk about you all have a purpose, right? We all have this sole purpose. When we're born, we all come, and that's what I'm going to make this argument. I make it all the time. We're all equal. Yeah, we all have trials and tribulations as we grow up, and we're going to face those, and those make us who we are. But once we get into that, what I call the 18 to 30, where you're the decision maker now, then you need to really pick and choose how you're going to predicate your life. And the thing I have right now that I struggle with, Kate, is that it's somebody else's fault syndrome.
Yeah, right.
No ownership.
Right. Well, you know what? There's this really great. I interviewed this really cool guy, and he gave me this thesis, and I'm taking it because it's so good. But we have, let's say, 65 to 70% of our humans are in this re-evolution, the rewinds and play, the hamster wheel, doing the same thing every day, right? And then we have 5% of people who bust out of that, who have either, like for me, losing my son. I realized that I could not be in this re-evolution. I had to evolve into a higher version of me in order to transmute the level of grief to which I experienced, right? I had no option, right? So there's 75%. And then we have this whole chunk of people that are in the de-evolution. They're dying, dude. They're dying. You know, right off the bat, you can name a handful of people that you know that are actually in that de-evolution. It's sad, right? It's the truth. But understanding that if I'm here to have impact, I can have love and care for those people, and I can give them what I can. But I'm really ultimately here to help people in that re-evolution project, because those are the people that are going to save and help those people in de-evolution. They're going to come up with systems, strategies, be able to influence and create pivot points to help us all evolve, right? But there's only so much we can do to hold on to those people in de-evolution. Man, it hurts. It's hard to leave people behind when you elevate, but we must. And I would say, I don't think we're all created equal in some way. I don't believe we are. I think that, we have different levels of hardship. Can we measure hardship? No. Is one worse than the other? Well, no. But the bottom line is that it's the choice that we make. It's the choice we make. And we can either choose and blame external forces for our restriction on our freedom. You're making me wear a mask. You're telling me who I can have sex with. All of the, I'm using my crypto, like whatever the thing is that we're pushing up against. Really what we should be pushing against is our inner resistance to grow and set ourselves free to manifest our greatness. It has to become not even optional. It's taking personal responsibility. That's my thematic, is that we have to own our own personal responsibility to live in our greatness. And it's hard and it sucks. And we need a tribe of people to help us. The only way we can do it is to bring those people in. I had to spend thousands of dollars to A-game in my life. It was my budget line item because I had no choice, because no one in my life was like me. 1 of 9 kids, no money, really minimal money. 7 of the 9 had drug and alcohol issues. Right?
Definitely.
Crazy anxiety and stress in the home. I got thrown into the light over and over again on my back going, oh, which way is up? I'm going to figure this out. Right? So I came into the world a little gritty. I'm a little gritty girl. I'm ADHD classic, right? But I figured out that the only way was up. Just like Les Brown says, I get knocked down, I look up. Because if I can look up, I can get up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But here's the struggle I have. I know these people, you talk to tons of people, and I have too. 30 years in the military, talk to tons of people. And what the classic of what I see is that for you to get ahead, and I always just tell people, we want to be a high performer. You can't speak being a high performer in existence. You actually have to live it. And that's a grind. And I tell people, it's not a 1 year hit wonder. It's a process, a lifetime process.
Embrace the suck, right?
Right.
You have to embrace the suck. And David, if I ever feel bad for myself, I listen to David Goggins because he smacks me upside the head so hard. I'm like, all right, I get it. Right. But he talks to me because the truth is this. It's not all about positive affirmations. I am worthy. Like, that is true. Those things matter. That's meaningful. But it's also like, get the F up, Kate, and stop limiting yourself. It is only you. It is only you.
So if you don't like what you see in the mirror, and that's what I always say, if you don't like what you see in the mirror when you walk past it, you ain't got nobody to blame but yourself.
No.
People say I'm getting overweight. I'm this. Dude, I get so tired of hearing people cry and whine when it's all effective. Stop drinking, stop eating bad food, start, dieting, start doing this, start doing the things that you need to do. I mean, I'm 57 and I'm on a sabbatical right now for about 4 months. I said, no alcohol, no bad food. I'm gonna push myself. Am I gonna miss something? Not really, because I'm gonna force myself out of my comfort zone and move forward to where I got to go. But you know what? When you're trying to do that in a group and setting and trying to make people understand, they actually have to become uncomfortable to move forward. And you talk about loss, and I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I lost a half brother years ago back, he had death by suicide choice. And the one thing about it is I look at the process of what my dad went through and just how everybody approached everything. But the thing I got upset about was he had a choice. He could have said, hey, reached out and did this. He made a hard decision.
100%. As
we go through life, it may sound like I'm a little tough on people, but I think everybody can elevate their game. But here's the thing. You got to be able to become uncomfortable. And that's what I like about your book, Warrior, and the other one, Claim Your Badass, because you are talking about people having to look at their inner self and their woe is me and get past it and move forward. Now, that's a struggle for some people, Kate.
It is a struggle. But the bottom line is I'm paid to push. I'm paid to push. And literally, we don't have time. Like, I literally don't have time. I mean, the cover of my book, Claim Your Inner Warrior, that's my son, Will, dude. I got to look at that picture all the time. That's my boy, right? He's the warrior that I'm representing. His name was Will. You better believe he had free will. He had free will, just like you're saying. Am I going to take responsibility for his choice? Hell no. Did society want me to take responsibility for his choice? They want to guilt me out? Absolutely. No. You're his mother. You could have stopped him. This is the real story. But I'm telling you something. Twitch's death affected me because this is the truth about Twitch, what I saw. When you show that video of him the day before, and he's freaking dancing, he's beautiful human.
Right.
He already had decided he was going.
Right.
He had already decided. So there is an impossible almost impossible weaving when we move into suicide ideation to break that. And where are we in our society when people can make a decision and hide that level of, hey, I'm not going to say it's pain. I'm not going to name whatever it is. It is a willingness to release this lifetime in this physical form in some way. Now my son spiritually bypassed, man. He was meditating. I thought he was going to be a priest. He was going to be a monk. So I'm like, oh, look at this. He's so beautiful. How noble. Little did I know that that's a warning sign. So any of you people out there who see people checked out and you think it's like some beautiful thing, it ain't always, right? I was a witness to it. So we don't know, but all we can do is be the light. And I think that with men in particular and with COVID that happened, we have the highest rate of men's suicide. And now it's moving up into men.
All right. So great point you bring in. That's a great segue, because when I was in the military, that was the highest issue we had, was with male suicide. Now, and recently, I just lost one of my female soldiers that used to work for me back in like August or September to suicide, depression. Here's the thing with male suicide, and I think it is that I'm tired of people trying to change men and saying that, hey, you're insensitive, you're this and you're that. And the stressors that are on them is because men are driven by three things. And hey, I'm not a doctor on this, but I know from a man's standpoint, man is driven by his status. He's dealt by his economic structure in his life. There's research out there that says that. And then the third thing is if he can provide. Yeah. And if they're not meeting those three requirements.
What about the sexual prowess?
Oh, yeah. Well,
what are you doing? How can you not leave? How can you leaving that
out? Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, let me tap the mic. Hello. Is my mic working? Come on. Literally, come on now.
Well, the problem right now is the dating game. So you talk about sexual prowess. Here's the issue: is that there was a major study showing that men that make a certain amount of money can't find a suitable female to date these days. And it's not that they can't find it. It's just the females aren't interested in them because social media has hyped up this where you got to have a guy that has 6 figures. They've come up with this term, high value man. Why don't you get a high value person that takes care of you as opposed to a high value guy that can pay all this stuff? So it's high value men is what they're looking for, or the social media is pushed. And you got to remember, it's attacking our young, college-going females who are actually in the realm of looking for a husband. And so there's a status quo. So you have a small percentage of men that make over 100,000 compared to our society.
Right.
But you don't see them running down the street to date guys that are working sanitation engineers.
Well, look at our college demographics. Look what's happening. It's predominantly women that are graduating with with higher education. It's like that because that's what society has pushed. And I would beg to differ that there is time to and I know this is weird, but I was getting my nails done. I was at some Cambodian nail salon, and this woman like, what do you do? You know, she's like trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm like, I write books. I'm writing a book for guys because, I think men are getting screwed in this society. And she's like looking at me like, why are you saying that out loud? We got it undercover, us women, because we got it good. And I'm thinking, and so the guy who owns the salon comes over and he goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, men, we aren't complicated. And I go, yeah, you may not be complicated, but you're deep. And he goes, yeah, we're deep, and because men are deep. And I think so much of what I see is women cutting men off in conversation, expecting them to communicate in a way. And the pivotal article in this book, Claim Your Inner Warrior, is I had a column in a newspaper. And a doctor, this Russian guy, said, Kate, when women lose their husbands, they do okay. And they pass away. When men lose their wives, they don't do so good. You got to write about that. He's a Russian guy. So I write an article about how men express grief and loss, how it's different, and how we need to honor the freaking process. And I cannot tell you how many men came up to me and said, Kate, man, you were talking right to me.
And absolutely, because we approach everything differently, and there's nothing wrong with it. But when you're talking about the dating realm of today, and you look at and it's okay because you talked about education and women. Now you got to remember, now in the early 80s, the Girl Scouts of America put a program together to push girls into science, math, and higher education. Nothing wrong with that. cool beans because they've been held back so long from the 50s, 60s, and 30s. Good. We're all good with that. However, there was no programs put in place to push men. And then the Negro College Fund was disbanded under the Ronald Reagan era. And at one point, we were starting to graduate more African-American males from college. And then we went to a transition of putting more of them in incarceration. And I have this theme. I always say we need more graduation, less incarceration.
Absolutely.
So our society has put parameters in place. And somebody went back and talked about the 1960, 65, 67 Welfare Act that took dads out of the houses in the inner city. So there's all these little things that have come into play over the last 50 years. It's like rearing its ugly head right now in our society.
Totally. Because now all these little things have become big things. Right.
Oh, yeah, but every kid gets a trophy now. You gotta get everybody
right.
You can't leave Johnny out.
No. Well, and I think that there's this really great book called Tribe by the guy who wrote The Perfect Storm. And it's all about like how important community is, particularly tribes for men. And he wrote this book also. There's another book out there that's called Resilience. That's fantastic. But it's letters between two guys that left. One guy that left the military and proceeded to excel. Another one who just became an alcoholic. And it was just beautiful stoic letters back and forth to each other. And I find this stuff fascinating. It was fascinating. So what happens when men leave the military? Or what happens when men don't have tribes? When men get out of the military, you're like, good job. Just take it easy. Here's some money. Go hang out. They lose their structure. And so look what we're missing in our society is a tribe of men where men can be men.
Right. But some of those guys, here's the thing is the military has an expiration date.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that going in, you cannot allow the military to become your identity. And that's what happens to a majority of the men that go in the military.
So what's the military's obligation to prevent or help that transition back in to help men be able to build powerful relationships and add value in the society outside the military?
I agree. Here's the problem. You lose your network.
Yep, totally.
And because everybody doesn't retire at the same time.
Yep.
So you theoretically lose your network. I got lucky because I still have my network and I still talk to all of the Joes and the females that I worked with, fought with, whatever. We all are still in code because we realize the importance of the tribe. But so everybody doesn't do that.
Let me turn this back on you. Mm-hmm. Then, so what is it that people need to know in order to build influence? Because you understand the power of influence and you know how important it is. And so what do you see as the solution?
Instead of just having, here's the problem at the transition center. They say, hey, you can go visit this group. You can go visit this group. No, those groups actually need to collectively police you up. So when you get ready to transition in your local area, somebody needs to come by your house and say, hey, Dan, how you doing? We're the neighborhood community party for veterans, and we're here to come see you.
Get in the wagon. Get in the little red wagon.
Because we're all going out together. Yeah, and that would, because if you look at it and historically from World War I, Hoover cut off the benefits for veterans. So they were almost all homeless and living on the street. Then the Great Depression kicked in and everybody was in bad shape, dire straits. World War II came around, the same mess. But even though when they came out, Eisenhower was able to put benefits and Truman put benefits for the veterans, they only benefited the white veterans. All right. So then we built suburban America. Then when you move forward after Vietnam, we don't even need to talk about that because my dad fought in Vietnam and we saw how we treated the veterans after Vietnam. Nixon and all them cut every budget. Vietnam vets were homeless on the street. So we, as a society, we haven't done a great job. And if you look at historically, now recently we've done a great job because of the limelight of Vietnam vets fighting to make sure that the Gulf War, the Iraq War veterans and the Afghanistan veterans are getting what they need in Somalia. All these guys are getting what they need. But when we start looking at it from a holistic standpoint, when you're talking about that inner warrior, yeah, we still have a high suicide rate of veterans. And here's the thing, which they don't talk about. A lot of the ones that are committing suicide didn't even serve in a combat zone. It is just like it's like they come down and you're trying to figure out what is going on. So the last report I had before I left the military. And so when I looked at your book, The Inner Warrior, and you're talking about men, and this is a great subject because I have 5 daughters. And so it was funny. And I'm gonna touch on this. One of my daughters, she was hardcore women. And then God blessed her with a boy. I said, so let me know how this is gonna work out for you now, because her whole perspective is now like, okay, what's my son gonna be able to have, and I said not to knock on it, but everybody can be a feminist until you have a boy. Totally. Because you want your son to have the same opportunities as everybody else. And I'll pause right there.
But it's also it's that whole concept of like, to have a boy that's emotionally articulate, right? And I think that was the gift somehow, some way. I think it's because I was a gym rat. It's sort of like being in the military. Like, I've been in the gym since I was 21. I was in the gym when no women were in the gym. I was
before Jane. So you got Jane Fonda time.
Yeah, but the thing is that I couldn't stand that Jane Fonda. I had to be in the gym with all the dudes, because it was the only time, because guys knew, like, I was used to that testosterone energy. It grounded me, because I had 5 brothers, and I was like, I was so ADHD. I never fitted anywhere. I wasn't like all the girls.
Oh, so you're slinging iron. You were slinging iron.
Oh, I was grinding. Right? I still compete in bikini competitions.
That's what I told you. You slinging 59. Iron. Hell with aerobics. I'm slinging iron.
Oh no, I was slinging. Yeah, I was squatting. So, but no women were doing that then, you see? So for me, it was, I had to push through that of being strong and being considered vain, or why do I care about what I look like so much, or I'm not smart, or I'm stupid, because I did something that honored my body in an environment that was mainly male. Why did I work out with mostly guys?
But you had Corey Emerson.
It was like, because it was like, it was safe. I knew if anything ever happened, it wasn't like they talked to me. I had my Guido protectors on, but I knew if anyone came in and messed with me.
Hold on, Kate, hold on. Also, you saying, so you had your gym protectors to keep guys from talking to you. You had the headphones on.
Yeah, my Guido protectors. I grew up in Boston. It was all Italian. No, but seriously, if I knew that if someone came in and threatened me, they would be dead, because not a guy would miss it. And so my gym has always been my sanctuary. I always knew that I was protected, even if it was like my own tribe. And I still feel that way. And I'm still honored to be accepted and part of that community. Understand? So for me, I'm not threatened by that energy. I need that energy around, because it lifts me up and it makes me feel safe. And I need men to be that energy for me. We as women need men to be that energy.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, protector, providers, just the whole gambit of where we're going. And my struggle right now is this movement to cancel men out of our society and Western society. But you see, other cultures are pushing back on this. And so I'm trying to figure out, how did we get here?
Well, how do we get here? Yes, but also, how do we get out? And I think that goes back to because we can look at it contextually. Like, I can spend and ask why. I very rarely ask the question why. Why? Because it doesn't help me come up with a solution. That's what correct. I can do is I can have powerful conversations with men to talk about, what does it mean to have a powerful conversation? What does it mean to get your needs met, dude? And that may mean, hey, what do you need right now? Like, at the guys will look at me and go, what are you talking about? Here's a list of what needs are in my book. Check that list out. Let me know. Get back to me. We need to give them tools and give them space and allow them to come up with their answer, because they don't process like women. We're like this, right? And dudes are like, can I just think about it? The reason why they hire me, I'm safe haven. They come to me. They don't have to know the answer. I'll just sit there and go, yeah, right? And they're like telling me some story. And one guy would be like, Kate, full whatever. And I'm like staring at him. And he goes, you think I'm full of shit, don't you? And I'm like, you? And I'm like, and he's like, you do, don't you? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, how does it feel to blow smoke up your own ass? And he's like, he starts laughing. And then he's like all freaked out. And I can look right at him. And I'm like, I love you, buddy. You may not like me right now, but I love you. And he's like, that's how I am. That's because I know I have to come into, like, I'm coming onto a field every time I coach a man, because I'm going to stand in for him that much. Because I'm not afraid of the energy, where I think most people are afraid of male energy. They feel threatened. Why?
Well, because everybody says, because the going adage was, men have had everything. And I disagree with that.
I disagree completely.
I truly believe that everybody's had a lane and everybody's worked it. So we never talk about the hours people work or what education people push themselves or what people are willing to sacrifice to get where they're at. And so here's the thing is some people want everything, but they don't want to have to put the work in to get there. Mm-hmm. And I always use the unification of Germany. So when the Russians had the East and the US and the Brits and the Canadians and the French had the West, when the wall came down, these Germans wanted to unify Germany. But they saw all the Mercedes, all the stuff that the West side had, but they had worked from 1946, 47, 48, all the way to the 80s to build that. So that was like 30 years of hard labor. On the east side, the Russians put nothing into East Germany, so it was dilapidated. I mean, it was falling apart. So yet, when they came when the wall came down, they came over to the West. They're like, "I want what you got."
Yep.
But dude, it took me 30 years to get this.
Exactly.
You want it like now.
Yep.
And so there was a little bit of a conflict in the ideologies of when they merged, and the kind of sort of is starting to happen in Western culture is that. I want all this status, but I don't need to have to travel. I should be able to work the hours I want to work. I should be able to work from home. I should get paid $80K because my value to me is $80K. Well,
right.
You're a $40K work.
I think that the deal is that this generation hasn't suffered yet the way that other generations have suffered. And every generation has their time where they must rise, right? And it's like it goes back to David Goggins, and so I grind. And so people have yet to be tested on the grind, and it will come. So every single day, my work is to prepare warriors for when the warriors are going to need to grind.
Right.
Lose people, and people are going to have to rise up, and they're going to have to figure it out. It's inevitable that this will happen.
Right, but this is the first generation. Okay, only 1% of our population serves in the military. So that's not, with 300 million people, that's nothing.
No.
This is the first generation of people who have grown up, born in the 70s and 80s, that literally have grown up pretty much war-free, civil rights free, with no major civil rights stuff going on. Pretty much grown up in suburban America, in the bubble, living the life and enjoying what they have.
With soft hands, dude. No calluses, right? But what is the way that this generation will be tested? And for me, the work is in preparation. I know every single day that's what I'm doing. At some level, I know that's what I'm doing, right? Because I know that when things go down, people are going to be lining up behind me. That's what they're going to do with the Warriors. I'm one of those people. So I bring joy to all of it, but I know that's inevitable. So how can we help people in the evolution? We can help the people we can help. But then when there comes a time where we all have to stand up, what's that going to look like? And how are we serving?
Oh, I mean, I'm in my class teaching. I am trying to make them understand that everything is not always constant and things change. And COVID was a wake-up call. But it was like you thought COVID would have woke us up as a nation and said, you know what, man? We need to really clean up some things. Our educational system was broke because we couldn't do homes. We couldn't teach from home. Our offices, people left the offices and actually literally stayed out of offices longer than they really needed to. Mm-hmm. And we set some conditions that they can't reset now. Well, they can reset, but it's going to be painful for some people.
Yeah. Well, this is thesis number 2. So we had COVID and we go into fear mode, right? Everyone's afraid. It was innate. I can still tangibly feel that. It was freaky time, right? And then we moved into phase 2, which is protection mode. Again, we're us against them. Vax, non-vax, gay, straight, all of the divisiveness that filled our culture, okay? Let's say that's 90% of our culture. We have 10% of our people that understand that now is the time to be the most productive and efficient and add the greatest value and take the highest level of responsibility to game change.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the time when relationships are built. This is the time that wishes are fulfilled. This is where we're having biggest impact. This is where we're growing influence. This is where the greatest money is being made. So my call out to every single person that's listening to this call is it's your time to take personal responsibility to up your game. Stop blowing smoke up your own hiney, says Coach Kate, and find people around you that you're going to have more fun with, because life is hard, right? I know life is hard. I've gone through some brutal tragedies. My brother was murdered in 1987. My son was committed suicide in 2017. I know the loss. I've lost 2 significant men in my life at the same age of 22. I understand. And if I can dig in and find meaning, even though I felt like my work was complete, I birthed someone that was literally angelic and gave him up to God. What higher calling is that, says Kate McKay? Well, you better believe I had to figure it out. And it is having conversations like this to inspire people, irritate people enough to do something. I'm okay if people don't like me. I'm a mom and a personal trainer as a background. People don't always like me, but you know what? You're always going to love me.
That's right, because you're going to push them. So let me ask you this question real quick. So how do people get in contact with you if they wanted to hire you or get you on service? Mike, throw her website up, and Kate tells.
Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot. So kate-mckay.com. Podcast is, I have a podcast called Survive to Thrive, and also Master Your Life with Kate McKay. One-on-one coaching, group coaching. Follow me on Instagram. If you want to be part of the movement to embrace your greatness, find people around you that are going to rise you and challenge you to a better game. Asking you this in closing, what percentage of your potential are you living? My work is in that, whatever that percentage is, the difference to fill in that gap. Your obligation is to fill that gap. And remember, the richest place in all the world, is it the cemeteries? Is it Dubai? Is it Saks Fifth Avenue Street or whatever it is? No, it's the cemeteries, because that's where people die with their dreams. Don't let that be you. I plead with you. Don't let that be you. We need you. We need your unique gift. And the bottom line is, we don't all have one purpose, you guys. I have to figure out my purpose. La, la, la. Go serve today. Go serve today.
Absolutely. That was on point. That was on point. As they always say, right? There is no U-Haul attached to a hearse, so they can't take it with you. Hey, Kate, it's been great having you on. I appreciate you coming on with me and Mike G. And as we always say, keep it rolling.
I don't want to waste a minute. Don't have any plans, wing it. If you gotta go, spill it. Cause I need it now. Monday is a bitch in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it. Cause I need